The best solution to stop hunger is by focusing on the root of the problem, which is overpopulation. Therefore, the main proposed solution in this paper is population control and not modern agriculture. According to Sachs, nearly two-thirds of the world's people still have to begin the demographic transition. Helping people in the developing countries that live from subsistence agriculture to move towards industrial agriculture will lead them to begin the demographic transition. Nevertheless, the author also mentions that to develop industrialized agricultural practices, the need for mechanization is primordial, which at the same time depends on a power source. Unfortunately, developing nations do not have the vast coal resources the industrialized nations have. Although they could use their water sources to create hydroelectric power, the author believes it will not be enough to keep up with the modern agricultural demand. Even if developing nations were able to industrialize their agriculture, according with Sachs, no increase in food production or industrial development can possibly keep pace with the population arising from a primitive birth rate and a modern death rate. Currently, the developing nations have a high primitive birth rate and a low death rate. Population control is imperative to control the primitive birth rate to balance it out with the death rate. A primitive birth rate is our evolutionary need to reproduce inherited from our ape-like ancestors to bear as many children as possible to contribute to the survival of the species. Before the two main revolutions in agriculture and industry, access to food was limited and proper medical care was poor, if non-existent, making life expectancy for children short enough to not be able to reach reproductive age. Therefore, our ancestors constantly were fighting against the death rate by reproducing at a much faster pace. Nowadays, a modern death rate refers to a longer life expectancy, possibly due to the lifestyle improvements. The combination of both a primitive birth rate and a modern death rate leads to the inevitable explosion in population. Paul Ehrlich believed the only way to tackle hunger was by balancing the birth and death rates. For this reason, he recommends a federal Department of Population and Environment should be set up with the power to take whatever steps are necessary to establish a reasonable population size in the United States and to put an end to the steady deterioration of our environment. He advocated for the right of any woman to have an abortion if it is approved by a physician, the right to voluntary sterilization for both sexes, law requiring sex education in schools, sex education that includes discussion of the need for regulating the birth rate and of the techniques of birth control. Among other measures, he strongly suggests for series of financial rewards and penalties designed to discourage reproduction. On the other hand, ESE advised to provide universal access to family planning services, to delay marriage and childbearing, and to expand girls' access to education beyond the primary school level. Another author that strongly supported the control of population growth was Garrett Hardin. To enforce population control, he stated, taxing is a good coercive device. In closing, population control remains the main measure to control the explosion of the population in the developing world, which will help to stop hunger, not modern agriculture, whose intensive practice depletes and brings to extinction the Earth's resources. According to Harding, the population problem cannot be solved in a technical way. A technical solution requires a change only in the techniques of the natural sciences, demanding little or nothing in the way of change in human values or ideas of morality. This means that no technological advance in modern agriculture will keep up supplying with the ever-increasing amount of population. According to ScienceScope, it is estimated that it will only take 51 years for the world's population to double from 4 billion in 1974 to 8 billion in 2025. This grim view of the future should encourage authorities to take action to start reversing the birth rate in developing nations as soon as possible. Thank you so much.